Micah. Thank you for joining. Leave your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Micah. Shout out to Gracelyn. Shout out to Marissa. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Welcome. Shout out to Bree. Shout out to Marcy. Thank you for subscribing. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Jordan. Oops, I messed up. Shout out to Bryce. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Shout out to Jesus. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Marissa. Shout out to Akash. Shout out to Hannah. Whoops, Hannah with 2 N's. Shout out to Landon. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Lola. Shout out to Road. Please leave a like. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Shout out to Carlos. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Adrian. Shout out to Winter. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Queenie. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Sky. Leave a like. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Shout out to Gigi. Shout out to Mahak. Oops. Shout out to Tony. Shout out to Narda. Shout out to Hemi. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Jameer. Shout out to Kiana. Shout out to Aliana. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Snowy. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Tiana. Shout out to Hazel. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Zella. Shout out to Kayla. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Bentley. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Bellamy. Shout out to Peyton. Excuse me. Shout out to Trinity. Shout out to Amand. Shout out to Freedom. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Shout out to Jaren. Shout out to Sebastian. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Diana. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Tali. Shout out to William. Shout out to Kinley. Shout out to Afra. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Richie. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Shout out to Naya. Shout out to Kane. Shout out to Miguel. Shout out to Misna. Shout out to Amia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Jace. Or JC. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kiki. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Kendra. Shout out to Eliana. Shout out to Yumna. Shout out to Heath. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Maria. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Shout out to Lana. Shout out to Cole. Shout out to Willow. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Regina. Shout out to David. Leave a like. We're almost halfway there to 100 likes. Shout out to Romeo. Shout out to Shreya. Shout out to Teal. Shout out to Gustavo. Shout out to Mela. Shout out to Imani. Shout out to Karen. Shout out to Heidi. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 100 likes. Shout out to Sari. Shout out to Emerson. Shout out to Ashton. Shout out to Amanda. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Pedro. Shout out to Jalen. Shout out to Carson. Shout out to Chrissy. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Jamal. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Odin. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Only 25 more likes. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content that I hope you can check out as well. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Roy. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Claudia. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Roa. Shout out to Mira. Shout out to Sarai. Shout out to Camden. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Gally. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Deshana. Shout out to Juan. Shout out to Umiza. Thank you for subscribing. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Josh. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Karina. Shout out to Jada. Shout out to Letty, or Letty, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rio. Shout out to Jaina. Shout out to Duda. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Alessia. Shout out to Hudson. Shout out to Raphael. Shout out to what was it, Carla? We're 10 likes away from 100 likes. We're almost there. Shout out to Kiki. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Saneth. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Arion. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Lennon. Shout out to Amino. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Diana. We're almost at 100 likes. Leave a like if you're enjoying the shout outs. Only 2 likes away. Shout out to Alyssa, or Alyssa, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kaiser. Shout out to Natalia. Thank you for 100 likes. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Jenny. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Kayla. Shout out to Teddy. Shout out to Charmaine. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Vivi. Shout out to Pasty. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Yumi. Shout out to Lean. Or Leanne. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Zoe. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Please like and subscribe. Shout out to Aura. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Livy. Shout out to Juliet. Shout out to Bree. Shout out to Haley. Shout out to Liam. Shout out to Cass. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Bavithra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ahmed. Shout out to Roz. Shout out to Jessie. Shout out to Linda. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 200 likes. Shout out to Azan. Shout out to Naomi. Shout out to Felix. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Peyton. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Jomar. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Karina. Like and subscribe if you are enjoying the shout outs. Shout out to Elisa. Shout out to Bangchan. Shout out to Natalia. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Bubbles. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 200 likes. Shout out to Mona. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Fiona. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to Juliana. Shout out to Hani. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Sebis. Shout out to Curtis. Shout out to Diego. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Emmy. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Martha. Shout out to Kimber. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Morgan. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Sally. Shout out to Colleen. Shout out to Renata. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Gigi. Shout out to these people. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs and if you enjoy my content. Thank you so much for being here. On to the next page. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Kinley. Shout out to Chloe. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to Ricardo. Shout out to Coco. Shout out to Tegan. Shout out to Vigi. Or Vigi. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rommel. Shout out to Sunny. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Araya. Shout out to Catherine. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 200 likes. We're halfway there. Shout out to Samrath. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Valerie. Shout out to Donna. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Arabella. Shout out to Harry. Shout out to Gloria. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Han. Shout out to Arizona. Shout out to Tina. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Kennedy. Shout out to Dottie. Shout out to Jaylicia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Leave a like. We're 30 likes away from 200. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Hunter. Shout out to Sky. Shout out to Melanie. Or Milani, sorry. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Jacqueline. Shout out to Avery. Whoops. Avery. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Braylon. Shout out to April. Shout out to Tiny. Shout out to Brenna. Thank you for subscribing. Or Brina, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Aubrey. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Only 20 likes away from 200. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to London. Shout out to Belle. Shout out to Josie. Shout out to Chelsea. Shout out to Zunu. Shout out to Athena. Shout out to Brett. Shout out to Amor. Shout out to Zion. Shout out to Marina. Shout out to Oliver. Shout out to Hermes. Shout out to Luan, or Luan, sorry if I mess up your name. Shout out to Zara. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Shout out to Henry. Shout out to Dax. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Aaliyah Zara. Sorry if I mess up your name. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Heba. Shout out to Kato. Shout out to Cheyenne. Shout out to Jaina. Shout out to Bravery. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Odin. Shout out to Anaya. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Jackson. Thank you for 200 likes. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Hadley. Shout out to Clara. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to Lycan. Thank you for subscribing. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Rhythm. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Paris. Shout out to Boston. Shout out to Leia Too Pretty. Shout out to Journey. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Clower. Or Clower. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Moon. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to V. Shout out to Bryson. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Liliana. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Lindsay. Shout out to Kaiden. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Kathy. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Alondra. Shout out to Billy. Shout out to JC. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Marissa. Shout out to Blake. Shout out to Santi. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Eli. Shout out to Jane. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Also, subscribe if you want to support me and my channel. It would mean so much to me. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your support. Shout out to Penny. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Remy. Shout out to Jilly John, or is it Jill John? Jill John. Shout out to Austin. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Ryder. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Clarissa. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Genesis. Shout out to Oscar. Shout out to Jax. Shout out to Dara or Dara. Shout out to Vienna. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Alina. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Adriana. Shout out to Chandra. Shout out to Zanab. Shout out to Kinley. Shout out to William. Shout out to Pomni. Shout out to Janet. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Jenny. Shout out to Catalea. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Holly. Shout out to Bryn. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Nimith. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Matthew. Thank you. Happy birthday, Matthew. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Haley. Happy birthday. Whoops, I messed up. Haley. I think I spelled that wrong. Can you spell your name again? Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Samson. Shout out to Lainey or Lonnie. Shout out to Blake. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to, oh, I did spell it right. Okay, thank you so much. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Mimi. Shout out to Jandal. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Mev Frick. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Gabriel. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Vivian. Shout out to Therese. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Tatum. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Shout out to Sheska. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Lila. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Saif. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Dingo. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Kingston. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my content. I think we can get to 300 likes. Shout out to Crystal. Shout out to Bokari. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sage. Shout out to Piney. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Kenya. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Hazley. Shout out to Sarah. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Shout out to Cadence. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Isney. Shout out to Kira or Kyra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Madeline. Shout out to Afra. Shout out to Chelsea. Shout out to Grayson. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Charlene. Shout out to Holden. Shout out to Nashra. Shout out to Tori. Shout out to Jason. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Taliana. Shout out to Drevin. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Brisa or Brissa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jerry. Shout out to Lauren. Shout out to Mason. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Linda. Shout out to Millie. We're 4 likes away from 300. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Romeo. Shout out to Melissa. Shout out to Nova. Shout out to Ronnie. Shout out to Kaimo. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Theo. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Isabella. Thank you for 300 likes. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Rhett. Shout out to Jamila. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to George. Shout out to Mason. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lila. Shout out to Anna. Okay, shout out to these people. On to the next page. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content that I hope you can check out as well. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Renessa. Shout out to Hayden. Shout out to Sama. Shout out to the noob meme. Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Winnie. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Amari. Shout out to Mateo. Shout out to Hattie. Shout out to Clemen. Or Clemens, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Nova. Shout out to Junior J. Shout out to Cassia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Simeon. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Rain. Shout out to Davia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Katrina. Shout out to Austin. Shout out to Rachel. Shout out to Jeremiah. Shout out to Arlessa. Shout out to Bakira. Shout out to Zuri. Shout out to Amber. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Reese. Shout out to Isla. Or Ayla, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Shay. Shout out to Kenya. Shout out to Lydia. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Isabella. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Pandora. Shout out to Kaiser. Shout out to Shark. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to McKenna. Shout out to Hannah. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Paisley. Leave a like if you're enjoying my content. Shout out to Milana. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sammy. Shout out to Kendall. Shout out to Toddy. Shout out to Althea. Shout out to Victor. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Jalen. Shout out to Adriana. Shout out to Peg. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Liberty. Shout out to Nathaniel. Thank you for subscribing. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Shout out to Mariella. Shout out to Amaya. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Mika. Shout out to Xavier. Shout out to Clarence. Shout out to Aris. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jaylon. Shout out to Jimena. Leave a like. We're almost at 400 likes. Shout out to Brisa. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Karina. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Kenny. Shout out to James. Shout out to Peppa. Shout out to Stephanie. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Milan. Shout out to Lucas. Shout out to Milani. Shout out to Stella. Leave a like. We're almost at 400 likes. Shout out to Kiana. Shout out to Dixie. Shout out to Oliver. Shout out to Naya. Shout out to Ledger. Shout out to Jewel. Shout out to Kathleen. Shout out to Lydia. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Joy. Shout out to Silmara. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Tennyson. Shout out to Tabisa or Tabisa, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Rumi. Shout out to Ethe. Shout out to Raf. Shout out to Santi. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Amina. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Adeline. We're almost at 400 likes. Shout out to Hannah. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Jess. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Shelly. Shout out to Judith. Shout out to Dakota. Shout out to Alondra. Shout out to Opportunity. Shout out to Harmony. Shout out to Zeronica. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to John. Shout out to these people. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for 400 likes. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Please like and subscribe so you know when I live stream again. I might live stream today, if not tomorrow. So please subscribe so you know when I live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time to write your name. I appreciate it. Have a great day or have a great night. Bye. Take care.